Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. Alright, when I resumed doing this show with episode 13 2 months ago, I referred to it as the all-new, all-different Comic Hero Show. During that time, I've taken steps to guarantee that. I've added new segments, and the previous two episodes were done on location, and I allowed others to take part in them. This week, I'm taking another step in doing so. I will no longer be using my laptop to do my shows. From now on, I'm going to be using actual cameras. And just like the two previous episodes that were on location, every episode of the Comic Hero Show from this point on will be in high definition. And that's to ensure that you'll be able to see me as well as all the comics that I buy every week and all of the graphics that are going to be featured on the show. Is this the last step that I'm going to take in order to ensure that this will be all new and all different? No way. I always feel that there's always room for improvement. Okay, that's all the things I want to talk about, so let's do some ranting.
What you talking about, Willis?
Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is a little error that I made in the Comicology 101 segment on the Incredible Hulk back in episode 17. I said that She-Hulk was the first ever female Hulk. That is wrong. I found out recently that the first ever female Hulk was actually Betty Ross when she became the gamma-powered Harpy. Now, Harpy was pretty much half human, half griffin. For all of you who don't know, a griffin is part lion, part eagle, and that's what Harpy was. But except she was green all over, and the Hulk didn't want to fight her because he knew that was actually Betty Ross. And that happened back in 1973, by the way. That was the year before Wolverine made his debut in the Incredible Hulk number 181 in 1974. So to all the diehard Incredible Hulk fans that grew up during that time and actually read that, I want to apologize. I mean, after all, I wasn't even alive then. I was minus 8 years old at that time, and I didn't really follow the Incredible Hulk until about 2006. Oh, and by the way, while I'm talking about that, I want to share a story with y'all, if y'all will. My parents are diehard Incredible Hulk fans. My father, God rest him, he liked the show, and my mom, she liked the show. I'm talking about the TV series that took place in the 70s and the early 80s. But then later, there were made-for-TV movies that came on NBC. My parents always looked forward to watching them. As a matter of fact, they would always get me to watch them as well. What happened was that every time Banner hulked out and became the Hulk, I thought that was the most horrifying thing ever, and I ran away screaming. So what my parents decided to do, because they really wanted me to, they think the Incredible Hulk they think the Hulk is an awesome character, and I do now. Back then I didn't. They decided to rent episodes of the Incredible Hulk cartoon from 1982 and try to get me to watch them. Same result. Ran away screaming. Then in the summer of 1994, which was 20 years ago, when I was 12 years old, my dad and I went out to my uncle's house in West Shreveport, and my uncle was watching an episode of the Incredible Hulk TV series, and I just stood there, and coincidentally, it was a part of during that episode, Banner had hulked out and became the Hulk. And I just stood there and I was watching it. Wasn't scared. And then I looked, and then my dad was like, "Is he watching that?" Because he thought that I was going to run away screaming like I did all those years ago. And then next thing I know, I asked my dad, "Did I really used to be scared of that? Really?" And he said, "Yeah." "You scared of it now?" I said, "Heck no." So it was some baby steps I had to take in order to get myself to like the Incredible Hulk. I mean, I watched the TV series that came on in the 70s and 80s, and then there was an Incredible Hulk cartoon that came out that was on from 1996 to 1998 that I watched every week. And then eventually I started reading the book in 2006 with World War Hulk. And then I've been reading the Hulk ever since. So that's the story I wanted to share with y'all. All right. This week I have a brand new segment of DC versus Marvel. Hope y'all like the last one that I did with Hyperion versus Superman. This one is going to be The Punisher versus Batman. So let's get to that.
Are you man enough, big and bad enough? Are you gonna let them shoot you down?
Welcome back to DC vs. Marvel. This week it's Batman vs. the Punisher. We already know Batman's origin. Having witnessed the murder of his parents as a child, Bruce Wayne swore revenge on criminals, and no temper with the greater ideal of justice. He trains himself both physically and intellectually and dons a Bat-themed costume in order to fight crime. The Punisher's origin is similar, but with a skewed view of justice. Frank Castle, his wife Maria, and their children were in New York Central Park for an afternoon picnic when they witnessed a mafia gangland execution. Seeking to eliminate all witnesses, the Costa crime family murdered them on the spot. However, Castle survived. Even though Frank was able to identify all the shooters, the police were unable to help Castle in his quest for justice because they were tied in too deeply with the powerful Costa family. He decided that the only punishment criminals might receive is that of physical destruction. Shortly thereafter, he emblazoned his body armor with the symbol of Death's Head and exacted his revenge. Since then, he has waged a one-man war upon crime, taking the name Punisher. Who will win? It would start off with hand-to-hand combat, something both of them have expertise with. Eventually, the Punisher will resort to using firearms, something Batman is totally against. Batman would dodge every shot and disarm the Punisher of each firearm using a combination of hand-to-hand combat skills and several weapons from his utility belt. Then he reminded the Punisher that killing others isn't justice, knock him out cold, and leave him for the NYPD. Batman wins. And that concludes this week's segment of DC vs. Marvel.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that this segment of DC versus Marvel. And as I promised in last week's episode, I'll be doing a lot more of those in the near future. All right. Now, even though I'm back at my apartment, that doesn't mean that we can't do this next segment. So there's only one thing I gotta ask. Any questions?
Questions I walk around in. Questions I didn't thrive in. Questions I will survive in. Questions.
All right, in episode 21, someone in the Sound of Today had inadvertently asked me who is my favorite superhero. I'm going to go ahead and answer that question right now. In the DC universe, it's Superman. Even now, since they started the New 52 DC universe back in 2011, it's still Superman. Although Batman comes in second. On the in the Marvel universe, it's Spider-Man. If there's a guy who, I have a saying that that's also a principle that I always go by. Adversity is temporary. With Spider-Man, he goes through adversity all the time. He's gone through adversity since Amazing Fantasy number 15, which was his first appearance in 1962. And even now, he goes through adversity, but it's not so much that he goes through it. It's that he overcame it. And that's what it is. He has always overcome adversity. And that's why I've always liked him. Okay, my friend Sarah Kelling from Jacksonville, Arkansas had asked me, what's my favorite book to read? That's a really tough one because every book that I read, I like. I mean, after all, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't read it. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably have to say Wolverine the X-Men. And here's why. Wolverine the X-Men, they pretty much rebuilt the old Xavier Institute, but they renamed it. It's not called the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning. It's called the Jean Grey Institute for Higher Learning. And Wolverine is the headmaster of the institute. And you would think that given Wolverine's demeanor, that he probably wouldn't be a headmaster, but actually he's pretty good at it for the most part. He pretty much wants to give young people the instead of putting them out in the battlefield, which Cyclops is doing with his group of young X-Men. Wolverine wants all the students to have pretty much the childhood that he never had. So, Wolverine, he went from like complete, like bad, what. I'm not going to say that because that goes against my better judgment. To this compassionate soul, but that doesn't mean he won't kill somebody, because he will. After all, Wolverine is the best at what he does, and what he does is gutting folks with his claws. So I'd have to say Wolverine the X-Men. All right. Now let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
Up first are four issues of the same book, and those issues are Indestructible Hulk number 16, Indestructible Hulk number 18, Indestructible Hulk number 19, and Indestructible Hulk number 20. Now, in issues 16, 18, and 19, and I also have number 17 as well. That's already been featured on the show. Those are part of a tie-in to the Inhumanity 2-issue miniseries that was in Marvel a few months ago, and the Hulk has been tasked by SHIELD to take care of some of them. For those of you who don't know what's going on in Inhumanity, all persons on Earth who are carriers of the Inhuman trait or the Inhuman gene, well, they end up getting exposed to Terrigen Mist, and they end up becoming full-blown Inhumans. In other words, not only do they end up getting powers, but their outward appearances end up getting altered as well. And the Hulk is having to deal with that. And in Indestructible Hulk number 20, he's also in this one he ends up getting shot in the head in the very last few pages, which ends that series. But then a new series spirals out of it called Hulk, which deals with the fallout from that. And then I found out by accident that the Abomination uh, comes back from the dead and ends up going after the Hulk. All right, up next is Fantastic Four number 4. This is the new Fantastic Four series, and this is part 4 of the opening story arc called The Fall of the Fantastic Four. And so far, the Human Torch has lost his powers. He can't flame on anymore. He's having to deal with he and the Fantastic Four are having to deal with that, and they're also having to deal with a brand new Frightful Four. Now, as he has in previous incarnations of the Frightful Four, the Wizard is the leader, but the other 3 members are members of the Wrecking Crew, and 2 of their members are the leader of the Wrecking Crew, the Wrecker, and then the Absorbing Man. Up next is Uncanny Avengers number 10. This is an old issue that came out last year. I bought this last Saturday when I went to Excalibur Comics in Shreveport. They had a store-wide mega sale, and all the back issues were 65% off, and I ended up buying this, and it's also a hole that I had to fill with the Uncanny Avengers because I'm still quite a few issues behind. And in this one, it talks about the Grim Reaper, who also happens to be Simon Williams, a.k.a. Wonder Man's brother. He's formed a team of Avengers to combat the current team of Uncanny Avengers. I guess the term blood is thicker than water means nothing to the Grim Reaper. Well, that Grim Reaper and the Grim Reaper we all know. All right, next up is Superman Doom. This is a one-shot from DC. Yes, that is Doomsday. And does Superman die in this one? I don't know. But for all of you who don't know, Superman 22 years ago in the previous DC universe went up against Doomsday and he died. But don't worry, he came back. Besides, Superman always comes back. But in this one, it's a little different. I mean, does he go up against Doomsday? Yes, but the same thing that happened in the previous DC universe doesn't exactly happen in this one. At least I don't think it does. I don't know yet because I haven't read it. But I will soon enough. Alright, next up is Action Comics number 31. This is part 1, or chapter 1 of, called Infected, which is which takes place right after Superman Doomed. It is also a tie-in to Superman Doom, by the way. And while I'm on that, next up is, next up are 3 issues of the same book, and that book is Superman Wonder Woman, starting off with Superman Wonder Woman number 6, Superman Wonder Woman number 7, and Superman Wonder Woman number 8. In number 6, Superman and Wonder Woman go up against General Zod and Faora, who had both just escaped from the Phantom Zone and onto Earth, and Zod comes for Superman. Then Faora comes soon after, and then both Superman, Wonder Woman, and Zod and Faora throw down. And in Superman Wonder Woman number 7, it serves as a prelude to Superman Doomed. And in Superman Wonder Woman number 8, it's chapter 2 of the Infected story arc, which is a tie-in to Superman Doomed. All right, up next is Wolverine the X-Men, of course, number 40. This is the previous volume of Wolverine the X-Men. It's in the second volume right now. This is another hole that I had to fill. Then I also bought this from Excalibur last Saturday. And this one is pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. is taking all the students at the Jean Grey School, Institute of Higher Learning, as pretty much in their custody, because apparently Wolverine isn't, the Institute really isn't safe for any of them, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is, or should I say Maria Hill, pretty much called for it to take place. I'm telling you, Maria Hill, since becoming the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., she makes Nick Fury look like Willie Lumpkin. For all of you who don't know, Willie Lumpkin is the mailman for the Fantastic Four. All right, up next is Batman Eternal #1. This is a new weekly series from DC that just started last month, and it pretty much talks about a lot of odd things that have been going on in Gotham City, and one of the things that happened results in Commissioner Gordon getting arrested by the GCPD, and a lot of other things. All right, up next is Batman and Two-Face #24. This is yet another issue that I bought from Excalibur Comics, and it's an old one. It just came out last year. The book was previously called Batman and Robin, but the name of the book has constantly been changing due to the death of Robin in Batman Incorporated #8 at the hands of his own mother, Talia al Ghul. And ever since then, Batman has become darker. He's become more bitter. He's become more annoying. Well, at least he has to Nightwing, Red Robin, Batgirl, and the Red Hood, and Catwoman. And you think he was bitter before? You haven't seen anything yet. And lastly, Forever Evil #5. This is another hole I had to fill. I bought this from Excalibur as well. I had bought #6, but I haven't read it yet because the one thing about me when it comes to comics, if it's a hole that I have to fill, even if I buy the issue that came out after it, I won't read it because I don't want to spoil anything for myself. But in this issue, Lex Luthor, he assembles the team to take down the Crime Syndicate. For those of you who don't know, the Crime Syndicate are the polar opposites of the Justice League. They're from a parallel Earth where they're the bad guys. And so far they've come to the New 52 Earth 1 and have pretty much defeated the Justice League and led everyone to believe that they had killed the Justice League when they were really inside Firestorm. Yeah, I know. It sounds kind of odd. But in this one, Lex Luthor, he assembles a team: Bizarro, Catwoman, Batman, Sinestro, Black Manta, and Black Adam. And they're going to kick some Crime Syndicate behind. Okay, that is 15 comics I bought this week, which brings the total of comics that I've bought so far to 6,226. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I promise it's going to get even better. It's going to seem even more all new and all different, as I've promised back 2 months ago. And I don't know if I'll be here. I don't know if I'll be somewhere else. But all in all, it's still going to be a great episode because I felt like ever since I started back doing this show, it's just nothing has happened but every episode being better than the one before. And listen, I know that a lot of y'all who have liked the Comic Hero Fan Forum on Facebook, y'all have read, most of y'all have read some of the things that I posted on there, like I've asked for, questions for if y'all have any, I've posted if y'all have any questions that y'all want me to ask on air and answer for you in the any questions segment, then to do so. I'm serious about that. As I've said before, the Comic Hero Fan Forum isn't for me. It's for you guys. All right. That's all the time I have. I'm Victor Noley. I'm the Comic Hero. We'll see you next week. Till then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.